Hello, I'm Bernie Hayes. Today's guest is Dr. Christi Griffin, and she'll be talking about something that's in the news today on The Bernie Hayes Show. And welcome back. My name is Bernie Hayes, and my guest today is Dr. Christi Griffin, the head of the Ethics Project. Dr. Griffin, welcome back.
Thank you. It's good to be back.
Been a couple of years since you've been here.
It has.
The Ethics Project, tell us about it. What is it?
The Ethics Project was originally begun to address the lack of ethics within our criminal justice system by attorneys, prosecutors, defense attorneys, and even our judges. That often leads to the wrongful convictions of individuals and results in such a disparate number of African Americans being incarcerated within this system of mass incarceration, which is another version of slavery in this 21st century. It has evolved into educating the public about the issues that lead to mass incarceration so that we are more informed when we are electing our leaders, when we are communicating with those legislators who are creating these laws, so that judges are more sensitive to these issues and are giving more serious consideration to the over-punitive approach that we typically take towards crime.
The election of Wesley Bell and Kim Gardner, the city prosecutor, have you been in contact with them? Have you talked?
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. I spent quite a bit of time actually focused on Wesley Bell's campaign, was with him the night that he was elected and spent the day with him the day after he was elected as he went from one news organization to the other, and have seen him since. I will be meeting with Kim Gardner actually tomorrow, mm-hmm. and have met with her in the past, and we talked even before she ran for prosecutor. And I personally am ecstatic that these two individuals are in those roles and are taking a more progressive look and more critical look at the, again, over-prosecution of individuals and this overly punitive approach that we have towards crime and the misconduct, often the misconduct within the police department that has resulted in mass incarceration and the destruction of the Black community.
There was some federal legislation recently passed reducing sentences and different guidelines on sentencing too. Could you just give us a brief overview of what that's about?
I am less excited about what is called the First Step Act, and mm-hmm. it is going to lead to, it is intended to lead to the release of certain low-level offenders, nonviolent offenders, back into the community. It is indeed a first step, but I look at this with a critical view that considering our current administration and this push towards immigration and the approach towards creating this fear that those who are immigrating into this country are responsible for crime or responsible for the murders, the rapes, and that type of thing. That is how we were introduced to and began to accept mass incarceration and privatized prisons in the first place. So while they are now talking about releasing several thousands of individuals who should not have been incarcerated, it should have been given different types of sentences if, in fact, they committed the crimes that they were accused of, they are now going to be replaced by massive numbers of immigrants who are now coming into the country. So I am suspect of the law. Again, those who are going to be released, most certainly it is going to weigh in their favor. But I think we have to look at the messenger who signed that bill, which is our Donald Trump, who is currently sitting in the White House, and what his intent is, his relationship with people who put guns on the streets that are often responsible for the excessive sentencing when crimes are committed with guns. And of course, we certainly do not want crimes committed, and I personally don't want guns on the street or in homes at all. I am completely opposed to gun possession. However, his relationship with those who are invested in private prisons, who are invested in the gun industry, leads me to believe that this bill should be looked at with a jaundiced eye. Okay.
You being an attorney, I assume you kind of inspect that more than the average person would. But, you've been so busy. Every time I look up, I see you in the paper, I see you on documentaries, I see you presenting panels on subjects. Tell how has Dr. Christi Griffin, an attorney, been spending her time in the past 2 years since we've met?
Well, there is so much work to do. Yeah. It's never ending. And I love to drive when I travel as opposed to fly. So I have the opportunity to drive through and pass many different communities. And I am often surprised at the amount of growth and wealth within the white communities. We no longer have segregation laws as we did in the past, but in reality, economically, as African Americans, because we are spending so much of our time focused on the constant barrage of disparate treatment and employment, in issues related to poverty, in education, and in mass incarceration, in police abuse, that while white America is able to build their wealth and build massive communities of massive homes, that we are still struggling economically in our communities. The values of our homes and our neighborhoods are significantly lower than in white communities, so that we are constantly facing these economic challenges. So, there's just always work to be done, and that's the reason why you constantly see that the Ethics Project is advancing some type of program or information or panel discussions or the National Youth Summit, so that the public can become more involved in addressing the many issues that face the Black community.
You brought 2 books with you today, and I like to look at them. One is called Black and White. This is your book.
This is my book, Incarcerations in Black and White, The Subjugation of Black America. This is the 2nd edition, and this is your copy that I would like to give to you. And gratitude, a small token of gratitude for your voice in this community for decades. It is a continuation. It provides more updated issues from the first edition that came out in 2013.
We had you on the program with that.
Exactly. Sure, yeah. And then the second book, actually in preparation for our upcoming program at the Missouri History Museum, which will be on March 24th at 6:30.
March 24th at 6:30
at the Missouri History Museum. And that will be a program that is actually going to address blackface, which has been very prominent in the news over the last several weeks because of the disclosure by the chairman of the Virginia Republican Committee that dug up a 35-year-old image of the governor who purportedly was in blackface. He admitted to having been in blackface in some form in the past. And fortunately, we had this program planned. It's going to be in 2 parts. The first part, the one on March 24th, will involve Professor Dr. Katrina Thompson Moore, who is a professor at St. Louis University, who has an astounding presentation on blackface that I saw several years ago that was very informative, that prompted me to want to present this program so that we can have these discussions, because blackface in many different ways still exists to this day. It exists in our local newspaper. It exists in our media, in the news, which is constantly portraying African Americans as criminal, that does not advance the positive things that are happening in the African American community as often as they could and they should. And so we wanted to be able to present this program and have an in-depth discussion. So for the first portion of the program on March 24th, Dr. Moore will do her presentation. And then following, she and I will have a conversation, and then we will open it to a question and answer. Again, the disclosure in Virginia has given much greater depth to this upcoming program, and we will follow that on April 2nd. Dr. Kim Norwood, who is a professor at Washington University School of Law, we partnered several years ago to do a social justice series.
Okay, let's discuss that when we come back.
Okay.
I'd like to take time to do that. In the meantime, Dr. Larry Rice, Reverend Larry Rice, has a new book out too called Through the Fire. It's called How St. Louis Gentrifiers Try to Destroy a Church Because of Its Homeless Congregation. And I know that you were very supportive of Dr. Rice Larry Rice, when we were downtown before they closed 1411 Locust Street. And this is the book I would like to give to you from
thank you.
Reverend Larry Rice.
Thank you very much.
Also, these cups here. You see the Bernie Hayes Show cup? Well, let Reverend Dr. Larry Rice tell you how you can get one.
For many years, Bernie Hayes has been on the front lines leading the charge for social justice. It's been a great privilege of mine to get to know Bernie personally, and I want us, in celebration of all that Bernie has done, to share with you one of these very special Bernie Hayes mugs and a copy of a book, Through the Fires, which tells you about the battle for social justice at 1411 Locust, where gentrifiers came into the neighborhood and literally shut down the church at the New Life Evangelistic Center at 1411 Locust Street because they didn't want those kind of people in the neighborhood. Direct bigotry. Now, if you'll request this mug and share a gift of $25 or more, we'll send you this book, 328 pages that go into great detail on all the manipulating behind the scenes and on the scenes that took place in order for the city of St. Louis to consider it a nuisance because they were hurting and homeless people in the neighborhood. We would love to see a beloved community that when development takes place in a community, instead of the poor and the elderly and the homeless being pushed out, it's a beloved community that welcomes people from all over, regardless of their racial background or who they might be. They're people made in the image of God. Bernie Hayes has fought for that for years. And now we're teaming up with Bernie in a very special and powerful way. If you'll just call in R421302, or you can send your special gift and just say, please send me the Bernie Hayes mug. We will include in that Through the Fire, historical book that I've written on how the St. Louis gentrifiers tried to destroy a church because of its homeless congregations. You know, there's a common saying that if your neighbor's house on fire, yours in danger also. The bigotry, the hypocrisy in the city of St. Louis affects all of us. I thank God for Bernie, who has continued to point it out and root it out. Now we're teaming up with Bernie. When you request the Bernie Hayes mug and share a gift of $25 or more to New Life Evangelistic Center, I'll include my book, Through the Fire. We'd love to hear from you. Share now, P.O. Box 473, St. Louis, Missouri.
And welcome back. Our guest is an attorney, Dr. Christi Griffin, and we're talking about April the 2nd panel you're convening. Is that right?
Yes. On April 2nd, we will continue our partnership with Washington University School of Law with Professor Kim Norwood, and we will be presenting certain vignettes from the film, the original film, Birth of a Nation. We often hear about it and make reference to it, but very few of us have actually seen The Birth of a Nation. And it is a continuation, if not the beginning, of using negative Black imagery, buffoonery, fear tactics, using Black images in that movie. So we will be showing vignettes of that, and then Professor Norwood will moderate a panel, which I will serve on along with Dr. Katrina Moore, who is doing the presentation on March 24th, Ron Himes, who, as you know, is the founder and director of the Black Rep, attorney Kim Hicks Franks, and Nimrod Chappell, who is the president of the Missouri NAACP. Wow. So we have, an astounding panel who will be able to look at this subject from various perspectives. And again, following that panel discussion, we will open a Q&A to the audience.
How can I reach you and get more information about the panel and also talk about Dr. Christi Griffin? How can you be reached?
We are on the web at theethicsproject.org. I also have a personal website for my speaking and work individually, and that's ChristiGriffin.com. And then we do a National Youth Summit where we bring children, and I should not call them children, but we bring young adults, high school student leaders to various areas of the country to work with our national civil rights legends and other national experts from around the country to raise awareness of the types of issues that they're facing and to help them frame the conversation, to change the conversation, and then to go back into their communities, into their schools, to help shape different policies and different laws in their communities.
And that website is THENYS.org?
Exactly. The National Youth Summit, thenys.org.
Okay. Is there a phone number they can reach you, Doctor?
314-495-9528.
Okay, we'll have to say that a little bit slower one more time, please.
All righty. 314-495-9528.
This is the book, T.D. Rice, Jim Crow American Selected Songs and Plays. This was actually the character for the Jim Crow character, who was a comedian, and then they was stolen from him and became the symbol of racial discrimination and the chains of oppression that we suffered for many, many years.
Exactly.
Tell us why you chose this book to talk about.
Actually, I chose this book because the image is present on the book. I have a number of these books. I wanted to educate myself about blackface before we have the program on March 24th. Dr. Moore presents an enormous amount of information, but there are a number of books available through your public library that can be borrowed. And I would encourage the audience to explore those books.
Progressive Emporium also carried quite a few of them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think because of the conversation that is going on right now regarding the Virginia governor, one of the things that I want to encourage individuals to do is to not react immediately and have knee-jerk reactions because of our emotional responses to issues such as the Republican Party finding and digging up and pursuing some type of information against the Virginia governor to be able to embarrass him and have a massive call for him to step down because of this image that showed one person in blackface and another person in a KKK costume, and which has been. And people should understand this was not just in the past. This goes on throughout the world to this very day. The blackface that's used by high school students, you can find it in numerous places. But the knee-jerk reaction that we have because of our emotional response that does not look at, and I did not know Governor Northam before this information came to light. I have no reason to defend him, and in fact, I have a very serious issue with a policy regarding abortion that he came out with literally just days before this particular image appeared. But I do have concerns that we don't stop and think and plan strategically, that people did not stop and question why the chairman of the Republican Committee in Virginia would release this information. It was obviously strategic, it was targeted, and it was intended to remove him.
It was Democrat.
He is a Democrat.
Sure.
The next person in the line of succession to the governor in Virginia, as in most states, would be the lieutenant governor.
Certainly.
The lieutenant governor is an African-American man. And it was anticipated with this broad demand for Governor Northam to step down that would elevate the Black governor. I saw it as being a strategic move by the Republican Party to move into position an African-American man who then in 2020 would be attacked, would have this current administration pour money into that Republican campaign, who would do whatever was necessary to make sure that he was defeated in the election once he came back up for election. Right. Even in that expectation of that plan, I did not anticipate that they were years ahead of me. So they're still, and I should not say years, but a year ahead of me. They already had a backup plan to that. So plan B was to now have found two women who have come out. First, one woman who came out and accused him of sexual misconduct in the past. And Lieutenant Governor Fairfax, the African-American, who was second in first in succession to rise to the governorship, refused to step down, as did the governor. The third person in the line of succession, again, is a Democrat. So we're now looking at 3 Democrats. And they then dig up a photo, an old photo, of him in blackface. Wow. And surprise, surprise, who would be fourth in the line of succession but a white Republican attorney general,
Speaker,
who would then move into the position of the governorship.
Okay. Wow, this is all fascinating. And I assume this will be all discussed at March 24th, and April the 2nd. Okay.
Yes.
We'll be back and talk about that in a moment, too. But we're the New Life Evangelistic Center, the New Life Evangelistic Center. Think about those words, new life, because that's what Reverend Larry Rice and the staff here provides all the time. New life. But our new address is 2428 Woodson Road in Overland, Missouri. Although the 1411 Locust Street downtown facility is still being rehabbed and trying to get reopened, we're here. The same services that were provided there are now provided here. And we need your help and support. You may help us easily with the tax-deductible donation or investment to New Life Evangelistic Center, Post Office Box 473, St. Louis, Missouri, 63166. You may do it online at www.newlifeevangelisticcenter, one word, newlifeevangelisticcenter.org. American Express, Visa, MasterCard, Discover Card. Takes less than 2 minutes for an investment in New Life to provide these services for those in need. Back with Dr. Christi Griffin after this.
I want to ask you at this moment to please pray for our community. We need a prayer at this particular moment. So much hurt, so much pain, so much injustice. I see it on a daily basis. But God answers prayer. Pray for justice. Pray that the Holy Spirit will sweep across our community, and so many people, as they're God-fearing people, their hearts will be melted, and they'll reach out to these that Jesus refers to as the least of these. We'll see churches open their doors, and the Women in Need program coming forth. A church will open its doors, and we'll be able to take the women and the children that are suffering on the streets of our community to a particular church each night and bring them back. Pray that the doors of the 1411 Locust building will open soon, and the financial needs of the New Life Evangelistic Center during this very critical period will be met. Let's bind together in prayer. God answers prayer. Keep the faith and keep on praying for our community. Let's believe Him for miracles at this hour.
We'll return to our guests after this Black History Moment. Today's subject, Martin Luther King Jr. He was a social activist and Baptist minister who played a key role in the American Civil Rights Movement from the mid-1950s until his assassination in 1968. King sought equality and human rights for African Americans, the economically disadvantaged, and all victims of injustice through peaceful protest. He was a driving force behind the watershed events such as the Montgomery bus boycott and the 1963 March on Washington, which helped bring about landmark legislation as the Civil Rights Act and the Voting Rights Act. King was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 1964 and is remembered each year on Martin Luther King Jr. Day, a U.S. federal holiday since 1986. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., civil rights pioneer.
A television station run by people who were previously homeless? That's what KNLC TV 24 has been for over 35 years. Now 24.2 is NLEC TV. You'll be able to take this new community-oriented TV station with you anywhere you go when you download the the NLEC TV app. For further information, call 314-436-2424 or go to nlecstl.org.
Be at peace among yourselves. And we urge you, beloved, to admonish the idlers, encourage the faint-hearted, help the weak, be patient with all of them. See that none of you repays evil for evil, but always seek to do good to one another and to all.
Welcome back. Dr. Christi Griffin is my guest, and we're talking about two events, one on March the 24th and one on April the 2nd. Dr. Griffin, could you please give us another overview? And what are the costs of these sessions?
Both of these programs, both of the programs are free and open to the public on a first-come, first-served basis. We do anticipate that seating will be limited. We will be in the Lee Auditorium, the largest auditorium in the Missouri History Museum, which is right off of Lindo at the Bolivar.
Right, they're the circle there, right?
Exactly. There is no registration. It's first come, first serve, but it is free and open to the public. Both of the dates, March 24th, we will begin at 6:30 p.m. with the presentation by Dr. Katrina Moore from St. Louis University, and following that with our conversation, and then a Q&A with the audience. And then on April 2nd, we will show the vignettes of Birth of a Nation, the original Birth of a Nation, again at the Missouri History Museum. And that will be at 2 o'clock. It is a Sunday afternoon.
Okay.
Again, that will be free and open to the public. The vignettes will be followed by a panel discussion and again, a Q&A with the audience.
Anything I didn't ask you about that perhaps you want to mention? And especially how to contact you, if you know that.
Well, and then also individuals can get additional information regarding both of these programs. Eventually at the Missouri History Museum website, they will have the information posted there. And I am leaving on Sunday or Monday for Jackson, Mississippi, where we anticipate having the 2019 National Youth Summit. Jackson, Mississippi was the site of many civil rights activities during the civil rights movement. And we want to be able to bring students into that community, into that city, and introduce them firsthand to the new Civil Rights Museum that they have there and some of the civil rights legends that still reside there.
Maybe Evans' hometown, yeah. You know, a lot of people who watch this are from the Hinds County area, Jackson, Mississippi area. You know, anyway, so once again, tell us what's happening March 24th and 2nd, April 2nd, and also the Jackson, Mississippi. Briefly.
So March 24th at 6:30 p.m. at the Missouri History Museum. That is a Tuesday. We will be at the Lee Auditorium. It is free and open to the public.
Okay.
It will be a discussion of blackface, which will evolve into a more in-depth conversation about the African American community's response to the information that we heard about the Virginia governor. And then on Sunday, April 2nd at 2 o'clock p.m., we will be back at the Missouri History Museum with showings of Birth of a Nation and a panel discussion and Q&A.
Ethicsproject.org, you can reach. And once again, the phone number?
314-495-9528.
It's always a pleasure, Dr. Christi Griffin.
It's a pleasure being here.
And you are so busy, so I'm just... Thank you for taking time to come by here and tell us about Jim Crow and American and the books. And thank you for the book that you've given me, the second edition of your book, Incarceration in Black and White, The Subjugation of Black America. And please visit with us again.
Thank you.
There's so much information that you always provide for us, and we thank you for it.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you for visiting the New Life Evangelistic Center, channel 24.2. And we hope that you'll continue to support the New Life Evangelistic Center. I'm Bernie Hayes. Have a great day.